guys, thanks for watching and welcome to another episode of Raising Junior. So in this episode we're going to replace the left quarter panel, and as with other jobs, most of the work won't be seen as we have to replace the inner arch and then take care of welding the outer arch in place. So we're starting by cutting out the older arch. This was repaired made in the past. So the arch is another one, is a new arch not original to the car, which was held on a flange, welded to the body and then fixed with filler. What's left of the inner arch. Here the profile is completely eroded away, so it's difficult to see how it was. What we'll do is we'll cut the worst part of it, and then we will match the outer arch on the inside to replace this part. Then on the outside we will have the quarter panel with the proper outer arch. So this is how the profile should look. Then what we need to take care of is the inner parts here. So cut over here and make it match the original inner arch. Same at the back. There's a space that we need to fill that will join into the inner arch. This is the quarter panel from the inside. Before we can be ready to weld it, we need to take care of the inner arch. So for this particular model, the inner arch replacements are not available, so what we will use is another outer arch modified to fit on the inside. The main difference with the later models is the arch would be higher, so it would be somewhere around here, which would be difficult to make the radius match. So here we matched the inner arch with the outer one. Since it was the same panel with the same curve, we had to split it in down the middle to make the ends meet like this. So now we'll need to create a filler piece to fill in this distance. We also had to add a filler piece in the middle here and hand shape this piece as the outer corners didn't match, and so all this piece was handmade. Now we're at this stage where we tried fitting the quarter panel in place. Here there was a molding that goes around the fuel filler flap, which we removed so we can take a better reference. Eventually we will still be using the original part, so we will cut this away around this area. This will help us take a better reference as the panel will sit flatter. Here we're going to pinch this corner, just fold it in gently, so that we will have better clearance on the side. So now we're trying the new quarter panel in place. This is like just half a quarter panel, so we're going to keep some original parts from the car. Here we can see the swage line, which we will keep the original swage line on the grey body. Here's the swage line on the replacement panel, but it's not as sharp, so we'll just keep the original one. We started putting some holes so we can line up with the original swage line. However, the bend is keeping us from aligning the panel perfectly, so what we're going to do next is we'll just trim just below the holes. We're also using the filler flap as a reference, just the square part to align the panel, and we're also checking the bottom sides. So here the fit is really close, and we're going to trim this part out down to here and keep the original part. As we're aligning, we're also checking that the swage line continues with the door gap. So we're seeing that they're in line, and as well as this other swage is perpendicular. Our last concern is the door gap is still a little bit tight. However, here we still have to fold in this inner part. So hopefully we can correct that as we go. continued trimming. So here we trimmed the swage line on the new panel, and like this the side can sit a lot flatter without having the two swages holding on each other. So like this we can take more measurements and trim exactly what we need. Here we started folding the panel. We had to trim a little bit because it was too wide and it wouldn't have folded all the way. So we measured the original fold and just copied the same dimension. We just didn't fold it all the way, as in we cannot remove it. So we're still at the trial stages and we're going to fold it properly at the end. It's a bit difficult to tell from this shot, but what we're doing here is we placed the new inner arch with the old outer one, so we can decide the height on the outside of the quarter panel, and we trimmed off the bad part of the older arch. So like this we could scribe a line and we can decide how much to trim out of the intermediate piece. Wondering what these bullet things are. These are Clico fasteners. They're very useful for holding sheet metal together. They're used a lot in aluminium fabrication, and they have a main advantage over screws where they don't enlarge the hole and they can be assembled many times. So to remove them we have a special tool. Just press it and pull it out. So after finishing the inner arch, we can weld the outer sill in place. Here we prepared some holes to spot weld through. And to ensure the alignment, we just use the shim and run it along the gap. We're pretty happy with how it is. So quite parallel and even. And now we can go ahead and weld the outer sill in place. We started welding the bottom side, and as we were going, we were keeping clamps to keep everything tight, and welded spot weld one by one. So what we're going to do next is to weld on the inside. Right now we just left the seal in place, just to make sure that everything is in the correct location. Once we weld inside, we'll have to remove the sill because the rubber will be very close to the welding and we'll have to move it out of the way. After trying the quarter panel in place, we scribe the line. It's a bit faint, but you can see exactly where it is. And this line will mark where we're going to cut. So then we'll have to weld edge to edge to the quarter panel that's on the car. There was a place that we couldn't reach, so we just joined the 2 points. And then with a ruler, just scribed across. Now we're trying the replacement quarter panel after trimming, and we're really happy with the fit. All we need to do is level up the two panels together and then we can weld them. The gap is really tight for a reason. I will explain that later. All we have is a little overlap here. So we're just going to trim one of the panels so they will fit nicely like a jigsaw puzzle together. Here we can see even the back corner is really tight. This is the finished repair after welding the parts and smoothing out the welds. So the result was quite good, even though we have some distortion here. However, we still have to add some body filler. Something which I would have liked to avoid. However, the weld is so long that it was difficult to control the flatness. After finishing off the welds, we started smoothing out the panels with some body filler. So far we gave about 2 coats and we're sanding in between as we go. And just keep on adding to smooth out any dents and so on. So after 2 coats of filler, we just painted the surface in some primer. This is just to give us an indication where the high and low spots are. A good trick to start sanding the bodywork is to use a long piece of wood like this. Nothing special, as long as it's flat and true. And as we go, we'll just sand throughout the area. This will show us which spots are high and which are low. So the middle spots will need to be knocked down a little bit more, and the low spots will need to be filled in a little more.